Well, it's 1 in the morning. We're outside. Let's ask this question. What makes a set release successful? Can't wait. Well, what's up everyone? Welcome back to KitchenTableTCG. My name's Louie. Today we're going to talk about this question. What makes a set release successful? We are off the heels, we're on the beginning. We're getting ready for the release of Tales of Aria, the new Flesh and Blood set. Super excited about. And we're on the heels of a huge release of Metazoo's first set, Cryptid Nation. And we are like 3 months out from a Monarch release for Flesh and Blood. In addition, we are a month away or a month past the Dungeons and Dragons release of Magic the Gathering. And so there's a lot of things to talk about. And there's been a lot of conversation happening both in my chats, both in my Discord server, as well as in the comment section about have these things been a success? So I wanted to bring out my thoughts on what does it mean to have a successful release of a new TCG set. And so we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about some things. I've got some notes. I don't usually have notes, but I'm going to utilize them today because I want to make sure that I really ironed out my thoughts before I got into this video. So I want to start off with first thing. There's two real it seems like in the comment section there's two real things that happen. People either say, oh man, what can players get the cards? Yeah, are players able to get the cards to play the game or play the set? This is why Flesh and Blood puts out the unlimited box. This is why all those things, right? Like they ask the question, are players able to get the game? The school thought there is if players aren't able to get the cards, then how can the game grow? Very valid, very important. The other school of thought is, hey, I bought something and I want it to be worth more money than what I bought it for because this is a collectible card game. And so this school of thought, these people want the value of the cards to be worth more than what they pre-ordered it or what they bought it for. And so these are the two things that tend to go head to head. I think probably those are polarizing views that are just the two people that comment on videos. And my guess is that the majority of viewers who I interact with fall in the same category as myself, which would be I want players to have the cards, most players to have the cards, but I also want the card values to go up. But I don't need it to go up 1,000,000,000%, and I don't want every person who ever wants a card to have every tunic. So I think it's probably more in the middle, but that seems to be what the school of thoughts are. But for some reason, this seems to be the only thing that people talk about, the only two avenues of success that I think people talk about. So I wanted to address some other things that I think are really successful. And that's this, that number one, the biggest success of Monarch, looking back at the previous Flesh and Blood release, the biggest success of Monarch is the balance of which the heroes provided to the meta. Now, I want to bring up that like at the road to nationals the last couple weeks, we have seen so many different heroes. We've seen Monarch heroes win. We've seen WTR heroes win. We've seen Arcane. I saw a Viscerai list that won yesterday. The game is incredibly balanced, and I think for LSS and for Flesh and Blood, this is the most important aspect of a new set. They have to make sure that their next set is balanced. It's just so important. It's important for other games. It's probably way more important for Magic the Gathering than they lead on to believe or that they do. It's probably less important for Pokemon and those kind of games. But for Flesh and Blood, it's amazingly important because Flesh and Blood is sold as a competitive TCG. That is the probably main selling point of the game. So the game has to be balanced. And they did an amazing job of that. I think Monarch proves that. I think they did an amazing job of that. But then the second thing, so that's one thing, it has to be balanced. The second thing I think is the hype and brand awareness that a new set provides to the TCG, to the IP or the brand of the game. And in this way, I think even Flesh and Blood, Monarch, like my views as a channel, I had less subscribers when Monarch was coming out, and my views were higher. Now, maybe that just means that I'm a crappy content creator. We can talk about that in the comment section if you want. But what really probably is even more true is that the amount of eyeballs on the game when Monarch was coming out was immense. People were super excited about it. This explains the $500 boxes. This explains all the whatever, that people were really, really, really excited about the game because the hype was really, really there when Monarch was happening. This is something I think Metazoo did a phenomenal job on. If you look at the Facebook groups on Metazoo, from release day, actually from just the month of August, from the 31st of July all the way to like the 10th, 11th, whatever day this is getting posted of August, we've seen an over 71% growth rate of the Facebook marketplace for Metazoo, which is an incredible amount of people coming in and engaging with the hobby. We've seen their Instagram account go upwards of 2,000. I mean, they've grown by about 2,000 subscribers on their Instagram from the release of their thing. This is huge. Like, that's so good. That's amazing. The amount of brand awareness that comes out when a new set comes out is huge. I think we saw it with Monarch. I think Metazoo did a fantastic job of it. I think that is something that is really highlighted from the thing. eBay listings. If you looked at when Monarch came out, we saw a huge influx of money into the hobby. I mean, we also had like the print run announcement for Flesh and Blood, which added a lot of value, and a lot of people bought cards based on that. But Monarch also brought that in, and I think if you look at Metazoo, I mean, the amount of views that are on first edition product on eBay is absolutely nuts. There's thousands of views. The launch of a new set has to bring engagement to the brand in order for that new set to be successful. And I think it's almost like free advertising, right? Like it's not free but like you are releasing something and it provides this buzz and this hype and this almost free advertisement for your brand, which is incredibly important. Now, I know all this stuff. They're kind of extreme examples, especially Metazoo is an extreme example because the game just came out. It's the first set. That's an extreme example. But if you look at Magic the Gathering, like, what do you think the Dungeons and Dragons thing is all about? What do you think about the Secret Layers is all about? It's all about bringing the brand into awareness of another group of people. Dungeons and Dragons fans who aren't playing Magic the Gathering, they now see this Dungeons and Dragons things. It's advertisement. It's all about brand awareness. The Secret Layers, where they do this, Secret Layer with specific person, or Secret Layer Women's International, whatever, it brings different groups of people. It brings different excitement to the game. It's something they're doing really, really well. That's why the engagement of Magic the Gathering is still rising, because they are doing more and more things to engage with the outside. Now, I'm not agreeing with the way that they are doing it. They're cutting the LGS out of it. They are it's not good. Like that. It's in the long run, they're being short-sighted. I don't want to get into it anyway. But here's the thing. So the question then begs this question of these sets. Was the Metazoo launch successful? Was the Monarch launch successful? And what does the Tales of Aria launch need to look like in order for it to be successful? So let's start with the Metazoo thing, because I think that'll allow me to get to the Tales thing a little easier. I think that the Metazoo launch was incredibly successful. I think in my world, I think it was one of the more successful releases of anything that I've ever seen. I think that it has brought so much hype, and again, like, I want to reiterate, like, when I first got involved with Metazoo, I made fun of the artwork. I thought it was stupid. I didn't look into it that much. I backed the project on Kickstarter. I canceled my backing. My wife said I had been backing a bunch of stuff. And then I just kind of, more and more I thought about it, I was like, the artwork doesn't look good. I just didn't like it. But then the more that I saw it, and the more that I interacted with it, and the more that people kept sending it to me, the more that I liked it. And then I opened up a pack for myself, and I loved it. So, like, I'm not in any way trying to, like, hype up Metazoo or anything. I like it. It's exciting to me, and like that's why I'm chatting about it. I think it's a really great case study here. I think it was incredibly people here. So the first question: were people able to get the boxes to play the game? The boxes. Anybody who missed out on a Kickstarter, anybody who missed out on getting Kickstarter boxes, and who has wanted to get involved in the game from the launch of Kickstarter until last week, was able to get boxes for under $150. Channel Fireball had them up for $150. A bunch of LGSs had them up for under that. My patrons, there's a bundle going on. Like there were ways for anybody to get the product at a reasonable cost right up until release day, and right up until a week before release day. And so, like, I think people who are going to actually play the game were able to get the product. So yes, I think it was that. The hype that was produced was incredibly large. Like I said, I already shared the numbers. The collectors, I mean, obviously the prices have skyrocketed to $650. So the collectors are excited. eBay auctions and listings and whatever are getting thousands of views. The hype is incredibly important. The hype is incredibly extreme in there. I do want to say, like, there were some issues. There were some damaged boxes. Like, I know, they did cases of 18, which is, like, too much. Like, the middle, basically what happened, in a case of 18, it gets too heavy. The bottom boxes got, a lot of damage, and then the middle boxes got a lot of damage. Some stores, like me, like, I didn't get the theme decks I was supposed to get. There were some issues. There were definitely some issues. But here's the thing. I'm okay with issues as long as they're resolved. And yesterday I sent a message to Mike. I said, hey, is there any plans to change the case number for boxes? And he said, yes, moving forward we will do cases of 6. Boom, there was an issue and it was solved. I didn't get my theme decks, and they literally are sending me theme decks from the company supply of theme decks. Like, I'm getting the theme decks to get to my customers or whatever. So, like, yeah, there were problems and that sucks, but like the problems are being resolved, and like that's important. Like, the communication has been fantastic and the problems are being resolved. So a mistake was made, but it's okay, and they fixed it. So that's important. So I think the launch was successful. I think it was super successful. I think it was incredibly successful. And I'm actually kind of shocked and amazed about it. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and buy $600 boxes of Metazoo First Edition. This is not an investment channel. This is not an investment advice. This is just, me. I'm outside at 1:30 in the morning doing a video right now. But like, I think the point is that it was successful. And like, if you were excited about Metazoo, you're probably more excited now than even before, and that's a success. So, and if you didn't know about Metazoo, you probably do now because of the amount of content and the amount of eyes that are on it. And it's just like becoming more things. So it was definitely a successful launch. Now, Tales of Aria. Let's talk. What does it need to do to be successful? Monarch, I think Monarch was a success. I think we as a community failed with Monarch. We got too excited. We got out of hand with pre-orders. We didn't think rationally. I didn't think rationally. Myself, I didn't think rationally. I'm talking to myself. I won't say it about you. I didn't think rationally. I bought too many boxes. I spent too much money. Like, I feel bad about the current state of the market because of that. I don't think that's really on LSS. The one thing that could be said is like they toyed around with an earlier unlimited release, and like that's definitely an issue. But they're trying things, and we'll talk about here in the Tales, like they tried something and it probably didn't work, and now they are changing it. They're delaying we gotta be fair to them. They saw a problem and they're fixing it, right? Like, that's good. So like, I think Monarch was a success because it was balanced. I think Monarch was a success because currently anybody who needs the cards to get it can get it. The collectability thing of it is where I think it lost a hook. I would have liked to see some sort of legendary cold foil that is generic and not tied to light or shadow or a specific hero. I think that would have really helped for the collectability side of the game. And you got your skull cap or your tunic. Give me one more of those, right? Like, give me another kind of generic equipment that's really good. And I think that would have really solved the Monarch problem if you had that kind of high quality legendary. But again, like I think for the most part, Monarch was a successful launch. It brought a ton of brand awareness. It brought a ton of excitement and eyeballs to the game, which is super important. So let's talk about Tales. What does it need to do? Number one, absolutely most important part for Tales of Aria, I don't give any craps what the amount of price is. I don't care about the print run. I don't care about any of that. The number one thing for Tales of Aria, in order for Tales of Aria to be a success, is that it has to be balanced. It has got to keep the balance for Flesh and Blood. If Flesh and Blood loses the balance of this game, it's not going to be good for Flesh and Blood. That is Flesh and Blood's biggest selling point. Honestly, like I don't have any concerns about that. I think James White and his team, the dev team, are probably the most talented creators of a TCG to ever exist. Anybody who plays Flesh and Blood or who has played Flesh and Blood would probably agree with me on that. I've heard of professional Magic the Gathering players just being like, this is amazing. Like, this is absolutely, it solves all the issues. Like, I have no doubts on that. I will say, though, that this is probably the most up in the air set that's been released yet, because the way that they developed the sets, they developed Monarch first, and then they worked backwards. I think it was WTR or ARC, one of the two came first. They released them not in the order that they developed them. So this will be the first newly developed set since those 4 sets were developed. But again, I'm not worried about it. The team's amazing. James White, you know how to design a game. You're amazing. So like, I'm not worried about that. That's no concern of mine, but it's definitely the most important part. Like, the game has to be balanced. It has to continue. Secondly, the supply needs to be, it needs to fuel players, but not tick off the collectors and the investors. The collectors and investors of Flesh and Blood right now, I feel like are a little bit on the outside. I feel like they're a little frustrated. I feel like we missed a mark with Monarch that we probably need to hit for Tales. I feel like they're solving this by delaying Unlimited. I think, I really believe that the supply of Monarch was probably enough for first edition to support the player base for a decent amount of time, probably 6 months. That's my personal opinion. I think the supply of Monarch was way more than we thought when we were seeing stores hold boxes back and keep them for $500 or sell them for whatever. Hopefully that does not happen with Tales. I think that LSS can do some things to keep the box prices in regards to $150, whatever, so that players can get the cards they need if they need to buy singles or whatever they need to do, and then they can delay Unlimited, and that will be really good for collectors. It gives the game some room to breathe and for us to understand what the value of the cards are before we dump a whole nother ton of Unlimited onto the market and really soak up the value of the cards. So supply needs to fuel the players, but it needs to be throttled so that collectors feel good. I think some work needs to be done there. Hopefully we're on the right page here. But then probably the most important thing, the second most important thing after playability or balance of the game is the hype. Hype it up. I'm not sure that we've quite gotten no, I'm sorry, that's a lie. We've not gotten anywhere close to the hype that Monarch had. And that's a little bit like, I don't know how to say it. I guess we were just so behind with Monarch. There was so much more time from Crucible to Monarch, or even there's just so much more time. Maybe we just haven't had the time to get hyped up for it. Maybe it's because there's Road to Nationals that we're hyped about, and there's Vegas that we're hyped about, and the Callings that we're hyped about. And so this is just another thing, and we're all dealing with travel and all that stuff. But I feel like the hype needs to be upped a little bit. I feel like, one of the things that we do have spoiler season coming out. I'm going to have a spoiler on the channel. They're just sending emails out now to the content creators. That'll probably start driving up some hype and start making it a little bit, more exciting. So that's going to be there. And LSS did a great job on preview season last time around. I think they're going to do a great job. I think they're going to not my channel, I don't think that really matters, but like they're going to get Tulare Community College again. They're going to get, Alpha Investments will have another video. They're going to get all these big content creators to do really big things with their audience, and that'll be great. So the hype will be there. It's not as much as Monarch though. That's the key though. Like that's the fear. It's like it's not as much as Monarch. But all right, and here's the last thing. I know this is if you're 21 minutes into the video. Thank you for being here. But here's the thing. Last thing, I don't know where it ranks on the system, but LGSs. I'm not going to harp on it. I'm not going to complain much more in my video. Tales has to be a win for the LGS. And if you're an LGS owner, you're resonating with this. Monarch was a win. It was a win for LGSs in the beginning. And like first edition was obviously a win. I mean, especially for those people who didn't sell boxes at cost or at the whatever, who didn't do an early pre-sale, it was a huge win. It brought players into stores. That was a huge win. But Unlimited has not been a win for the LGSs. And that needs to shift. Like they need to do something to make it a win for the smaller stores. It needs to not be stressing out smaller stores in order for it to have sustainability and not just be this kind of cash grab for first edition. And I hope that we solve that problem. I don't fully have a solution. Like I've been wrestling with it. I understand the logistical problems that they have. I think there is a degree of it that has to do with the way first edition works. The more Unlimited you buy, the more first edition. So if you take a loss on Unlimited, you're able to get more first edition. It's just kind of is what it is. But then like it just creates this competition factor. I think one of the key things is that they have taken away the minimum the map pricing cutoff date, which I think will actually help. But they got to do something. Like the LGSs have to succeed. Up the amount of events. Up the road to nationals is a huge thing. They're doing some things right. They've got to get over the hump that is the bigger stores like Channel Fireball having the promos. They've got to do something to get over that hump for a local game store to be excited, to be driving the sales of the thing. So. Those are my thoughts. Again, I think Metazoo a huge success for the first edition. It will be really interesting to see what happens with second edition and to see where the player base goes with that. I do know a lot of collectors, investors are there for first edition, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I think for Tales, like the wins here are the wins here are the playability and the balance of the game. The things we need to do we need to get more hyped. Like you need to get more hyped. I need to get more hyped. Like Tales is coming. It's like next month. Like what is it? It's October. It's like a month away. And so like we got to get a little bit more hyped. We got to stop worrying about our travel plans and like realize that the new set's coming out and PvE is going to be here. It's not. PvE is not going to be here. It's just not. It's going to be the next set. And we'll be super hyped about that. Anyway, hope you guys have a great day. This is a long video. I'm exhausted from all this dialogue. If you're still watching this, I don't know. That's crazy. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what you think the successes and failures are for a new set and what's going on. Hope you remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video.